Hello everyone, and welcome to How-FixIT. In this guide, I'll show you how to completely disassemble the Nintendo Switch 2. You'll see every step, from removing the back casing, battery and cooling fan, to accessing the mainboard, heat pipe, microSD slot, and more. Whether you need to replace a faulty component or simply clean and maintain your console, this tutorial has you covered. And don't worry, I've also included all the reassembly steps for your Switch 2. For this repair, you will need a tri-wing and Phillips 1 screwdriver, plastic pry tools, a pair of tweezers, thermal paste, and thermal putty. I'll specify the type later. You will also need isopropyl alcohol and cotton swabs. I've included links to all the necessary tools in the video description below. Before you start disassembling the console, I highly recommend using a magnetic mat. The Nintendo Switch 2 has a lot of small screws of different sizes, and keeping track of them is really important for an easy reassembly process. A magnetic mat helps you organize the screws by sections and prevents them from getting lost, since they stay attached to the mat. It's a simple but very helpful tool when working on compact devices like Switch 2. Okay, let's get started. Make sure to turn off the console completely and remove the Joy-Cons. Lift the kickstand and remove the two screws using a tri-wing screwdriver. Next, remove the two screws near the charging port at the bottom of the console, as well as the single screw located at the top edge of the case. Now, we need to peel off these stickers. To remove them carefully, use a pair of curved tweezers. Start by prying up the sticker from the inner side near the Joy-Con connector. Insert a second pair of tweezers in the small gap and begin peeling the sticker along the edge of the chassis. This is how easily you can remove the stickers without causing any damage. Remove the second sticker using the same method. Remove the two screws located beneath each of the stickers on both sides. Use a plastic spudger to gently pry up the bottom cover. Then, release the latches through the small openings to remove the back cover. Remove the screws securing the antenna modules, then disconnect the antenna wires from the main board before proceeding to remove the metal plate. To remove and replace the microSD slot, first disconnect the cable and carefully peel off the black tape. Then, using a plastic tool, gently pry the microSD slot from the bottom to detach it from the backplate. I've included a link to the replaceable microSD module in the description. the thermal putty holds the metal plate slightly in place on this side. Carefully begin lifting it with a plastic spatula. Disconnect the battery cable from the motherboard before proceeding to prevent any short circuits. Remove the 4 screws securing the heat pipe. The heat pipe in the Switch 2 is very thin and must be handled with extreme care during removal. It is hollow and contains a specialized cooling fluid. If bent, it loses its ability to effectively transfer heat to the heatsink. Additionally, the heat pipe is secured with thermal paste and double-sided thermal tape beneath the heatsink. To remove it safely without causing damage, use 2 plastic spatulas, one on each side, to apply even pressure. Gently lift the heat pipe to loosen it, but do not remove it completely until the heatsink has been fully detached from the double-sided thermal tape. Remove the 3 screws securing the cooling fan. Open the connector latch, disconnect the fan cable, and remove the fan. If your cooling fan starts making rattling, buzzing, or grinding noises similar to a tiny lawnmower, that's a sign the bearings are failing. This noise indicates increased friction, which can eventually cause the fan to stop working entirely, leading to overheating and potential damage to your console. If you experience these symptoms, it's time to replace the fan. I've included a link to a replacement fan for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the video description below. Unscrew the single screw, disconnect the cable from the main board, and remove the headphone jack module. Disconnect the ribbon cable from the main board and remove the top microphone. Disconnect the power and volume button flex cable. If either button is damaged or not functioning properly, replacing this cable should resolve the issue. I've included a link to the replacement button flex cable in the video description. Disconnect the speaker cables and remove them from the case. Now you can replace any faulty speakers or begin cleaning them if you've been experiencing muffled sound or crackling noises. I've also included links to replacement speakers in the video description. Let's move on to removing the Switch 2 main board. First, disconnect the 2 cables from the Joy-Con connectors as well as the display cable. Next, unscrew the 6 screws securing the main board to the console chassis. Gently pry up the main board using a plastic tool at the top edge and carefully lift it out of the case. Note that removing the board may require some effort, as 2 thermal pads on the backside hold it in place. Remove the 2 screws securing the Joy-Con connector. Unstick the ribbon cable and remove the connector from the console housing. You may need to replace the Joy-Con connector if it's damaged and the console does not detect the Joy-Con when connected. However, it's also possible that the issue lies with the Joy-Con port itself. In that case, watch my separate video on the complete disassembly and repair of the Joy-Con. I'll leave the link in the video description. The right Joy-Con connector is replaced in a similar way. Note that the right connector differs from the left one by having a longer ribbon cable. I'll include links to replacement Joy-Con connectors in the video description. The battery in the Switch 2 is glued to the console chassis, and to remove it safely, you'll need isopropyl alcohol. There are 2 small gaps at the top of the battery. Apply a few drops of isopropyl alcohol into these gaps, and wait a short while for the adhesive underneath to soften. Next, use a thin, non-sharp, preferably metal spudger to gently pry the battery loose and remove it from the console body. As you can see, the battery is secured with a large adhesive sticker, so removal can be a bit challenging. You can find a link to a replacement battery for the Switch 2 in the video description below. The console chassis has 2 neodymium magnets on each side. You may need to replace them if they become demagnetized or damaged. Although they are coated for protection, neodymium magnets are inherently brittle. Exposure to moisture or a spill can compromise the coating, allowing rust to form, which weakens the magnetic field over time. To replace the magnet, you need to remove 1 screw. Replacing a weakened magnet restores the firm, even pressure necessary to maintain stable contact and ensure proper charging and connectivity. The display remains attached to the console chassis. If you need to replace it, check out my dedicated Switch 2 screen replacement guide. I've provided a link to that video in the description below. So, at this stage, we've completely disassembled the Nintendo Switch 2. You now know how to replace any faulty component and restore your console's functionality. Links to all necessary spare parts are in the video description below. Before starting the reassembly process, I recommend taking a short break to regain focus and ensure a successful completion of the repair. Let's begin the reassembly by installing the battery into the console housing. If your replacement battery does not come with an adhesive sticker, you can use double-sided tape to secure it in place. Make sure the tape is thin and applied evenly to ensure a firm and safe fit. When installing the main board into the console case, ensure that a thermal pad is present on the back of the board as well as one on the console chassis. These thermal pads are essential for proper heat transfer and overall thermal management. Reinstalling the board without them can lead to overheating and reduced performance. Secure the main board with 6 screws. Connect the Joy-Con connector ribbon cables to the motherboard, ensuring they are properly aligned and fully inserted to maintain stable connectivity. Connect the screen cable to the main board. When doing so, carefully align the cable with the connector to ensure a proper fit. Incorrect alignment may result in the screen not displaying an image. Make sure the connection is secure before proceeding. Install the speakers into the console case and connect them to the main board. Ensure the connectors are firmly seated to guarantee proper audio functionality. Install the ribbon cable with the power and volume buttons, making sure it fits securely into the designated grooves. This alignment is crucial for proper button functionality. Once positioned correctly, connect the cable to the main board. Install the top microphone and connect its cable. Next, position the headphone jack module in its designated slot, connect the cable, and secure it with a screw. Install the cooling fan, connect its cable, and secure it with the 3 screws. Before installing the heat pipe, be sure to apply fresh thermal paste to ensure effective heat transfer. Use isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free cloth or cotton swabs to clean off the old thermal paste. Be careful not to remove or disturb the pink thermal putty on the back of the heat pipe. We'll return to that in the next step. Since the contact boundaries between the base of the heat pipe and the chip surface are not clearly defined, I recommend applying thermal paste directly to the base plate. This approach ensures full coverage of the heat spreader area. Apply a small amount of thermal paste, something like Arctic MX4, Noctua NTH2, or Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut will work well. A rice-sized dot in the center of the base plate is sufficient. Then, using a plastic spatula, spread the paste evenly across the entire surface of the base plate. Additionally, you can remove the metal plate and apply thermal paste directly to the APU chip. For detailed instructions on this method, refer to my separate video guide on replacing the thermal paste on the APU. Place the heatsink back on top, making sure it's aligned properly, and screw it back down. Now, let's talk about that pink material between the heatsink and backplate. That's thermal putty, not paste. Unlike standard thermal paste, which works well only in thin layers with tight pressure, thermal putty is designed to fill larger gaps. In the Nintendo Switch 2, there's a significant space, around 1.5 millimeters, between the heat pipe and the backplate. Thermal paste simply isn't thick enough to handle this properly and would lead to poor heat transfer and overheating issues. If you don't have fresh thermal putty and the old one is still elastic, you can temporarily reuse it until you obtain a new supply. However, replacing it with fresh thermal putty is recommended for optimal thermal performance. When selecting a suitable thermal putty, I recommend Thermal Grizzly Putty, which comes in 3 variants: Basic, Advanced, and Pro, each differing in thermal conductivity, consistency, and price. TG Putty Pro is unnecessary for this application. It is designed for extreme heat transfer scenarios such as servers or high-performance overclocking. Its thermal performance, density, and cost are excessive for a mobile console like the Switch 2. TG Putty Advanced is an excellent compromise between thermal conductivity and ease of application. It performs reliably in the area between the heat pipe and the back cover, where the gap is approximately 1.5 millimeters. It does not leak and remains stable under vibration and heat, making it ideal for this repair. TG Putty Basic is a more budget-friendly option that still performs, particularly if the console is used under moderate load. Visually, its color is very similar to the original thermal putty used in factory-assembled consoles, making it a practical choice for general use. I'm going to use TG Putty Advanced. It has excellent thermal conductivity at around 6.2 watts per meter Kelvin and stays in place without drying out or leaking. It's a perfect replacement for the original thermal putty. Remove the old thermal putty and wipe the surface to eliminate any remaining residue. Then, apply fresh thermal putty and spread it evenly along the heat pipe using the spatula included with the TG putty. Ensure the layer is smooth and covers the contact surface thoroughly for optimal thermal conductivity. Install the backplate and secure it with the appropriate screws. The applied pressure will evenly distribute the thermal putty, forming the optimal contact layer across the surface of the heat pipe for efficient heat transfer. Reattach the back cover, secure it with the screws, and replace the original stickers to complete the assembly. If you found this guide helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech tips and guides. Visit our website for more tech insights and do-it-yourself guides. Remember, every tech challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. I really appreciate you watching my video guide. Feel free to ask any questions about Nintendo Switch 2 maintenance in the comments. By the way, if you're experiencing issues with your Joy-Cons or Pro Controller, such as analog stick drift or sticky buttons, check out my tutorial on cleaning and restoring your controller. For more details, refer to the helpful links in the video description. Thanks for watching HowFixIT, and see you in the next video.